Welcome back. He was one of the founders of the Bakersfield Sound and one of the biggest names, of course, in country music. We are talking about Merle Haggard. And joining us this morning is Merle's former bus driver, longtime friend, and author of the book, Merle Haggard Was a Friend of Mine, Ray McDonald. Raymond, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You know, when you talk about the time you have known just Merle Haggard, the Owens family, and everything else, we're going back about 55 years, aren't we?
Yes.
Can you talk about how you met?
Yes, sir. Me and Mike Owens, Buck and Bonnie's kid, went to Beardsley Junior High out in Oldell, and I met him there in 1964. And Buddy Owens, his older brother, and me and Mike became very good friends in 1964. In 1965, Bonnie and Merle married, and my mom and dad moved to Los Angeles. I didn't like Los Angeles. I want to live in Oldell. I want to be with my friends. So I asked Mike and Buddy, could I live with Bonnie and Merle, Bonnie's mom, and Mike and Buddy, and Bonnie and Merle said, yeah. So I lived my whole sophomore year up there in Oldell with Bonnie and Merle and Buddy and Mike and Bonnie's mama.
And then how did that transition from that type of friendship and living in that environment to sort of joining the Haggard crew, going out on tour and stuff?
Well, he trusted me. You know, he knew I was a driver. He knew I was driving limousines and cabs and everything through my life. In 2009, Merle called me. I lived at Kern City at the time, called me in the middle of the night. He said, hey, Ray, can you come to Dallas and drive my band bus? My band bus driver quit. So I said, sure. So I flew to Dallas. I drove the band bus for a year. Norman Hamlet and Fuzzy Owen taught me how to drive it. I never drove a bus before. And Merle, after a year, said, all right, let's see what you learned. And he put me on his bus as the lead driver for the last 5 years of his career.
Oh, wow. And then this book that you've got coming out right now, I was asking you about the stories that are in that. How many stories are in there, but how many did you leave out?
That's the best question, man. I left out a lot, but I tell you what, it's just a fraction of what I know. There's 52 chapters, 52 stories, 106 photographs.
Wow.
In fact, Lillian Haggard, Merle's sister, as you know, Mike, is 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And she allowed me to use 9 photographs from her archives and Jim Haggard, the nephew. So there's a lot of great photographs in there. By the way, I want to give credit to my son, Benjamin, my friend, Rebecca Sheeran, my sister, Connie McDonald, for helping me with this. There's no way I could have done a book without them. And of course, Bob Price kind of sent me in the right direction on how to write a book.
You know, when you're talking about someone like Merle Haggard, who lived basically his entire life in the spotlight, in the public, is there one specific thing about Merle that maybe we don't know that you could share with us from your time being that close to him?
He was funny. He was hilarious. He was one of the funniest guys just off the top of his head. In fact, one time we were in Denver, and, you know, with all his songs, you'd think he'd be the most serious guy in the world, and he was when he had to be. Mm-hmm. But he was a funny man. And one time we were in Denver, and the next morning we got the newspaper, and he goes, hey, Ray, look at this. I'm finally a comedian. He had cracked up that crowd so much that night that the newspaper guy wrote, this guy should have been a comedian. And Merle says, yeah, I should have been a comedian. I'd only have him go out there with just one microphone, not bring a whole band with me.
You know, just knowing that we are talking with Raymond McDonald, the author of Merle Haggard Was a Friend of Mine. And Ray, I got to tell you, just listening to this short little conversation, I think you may have to come up with a follow-up book. You've got enough stories to do that.
Oh, sure. But this one is insightful into his character as a human being. He really was a kind man, and man, he loved having a guitar in his hand.
Raymond McDonald, the author of Merle Haggard Was a Friend of Mine. You can find it, I guess, on most platforms where you can buy books, correct?
Sure.
Ray McDonald, Thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate it, and best of luck.
Thank you, Mike.